Hey you guys, it's Rachel here with Senza Tempo Cane Corso. I wanted to cover the last video that I did about velocity. I have had a lot of people that have been asking me the question of why it is that if Velocity can't control herself and if she has these issues, why it is that I'm still using her in my breeding program. I have people asking that question, and then I have some people that are basically making the judgment of saying, I don't, it's like this whole like I statements. I don't think that you should be using her. I don't think that she's good breed quality. I think you're making a mistake, blah, 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 blah. I don't mind the questions because I created this channel as a place for people to learn and to be able to ask questions. What does bother me are the people that are making assumptions and that are second guessing my judgment on the matter whenever they don't know anything about velocity. In fact, they have never voiced these kinds of concerns before actually seeing the video from yesterday. In fact, I bet you the majority of these people were the kinds of people that were making the kinds of comments about Cashmere being a bully, or me picking on Velocity, or me not liking her, or Cashmere hating her, etc. There has always been and will always be a problem with people on the internet watching a snippet of information and assuming that they've seen enough and that they are intelligent enough to make mass judgment calls about a particular subject with very little information available to them. And it was a problem then, it's a problem now, and it will always be a problem. And unfortunately, I don't think that these particular people have the intelligence level to be able to recognize that they're making a bad judgment call. You know what I mean? There is such a thing as having an educated opinion and an uneducated opinion. If you're making an opinion about my dogs based upon the short little bit of video that you get to see about them, and you're not a breeder and you don't have years of experience with identifying breed temperament or in general temperaments of any particular breed, like I have with working with dogs. I've been training dogs, breeding dogs for the majority of my life now. And so I feel that I have the experience and the expertise necessary to be able to make these kinds of judgment calls. But even with all the information that I have and the experience that I have, I still have other people that are in my industry that I value, and I bounce ideas off them all the time. And that's to make sure that I am making a good judgment call, because when you are really close to a situation, it can sometimes be harder to see the situation clearly. So it's always good to have other people that you can kind of check yourself with. And I have people like that. And I think that that is the way that intelligent people come to decisions. There are unintelligent people that don't recognize that only getting to see a little bit of information about something does not qualify you to be able to make judgment calls as large as trying to determine whether or not an animal should or should not be used in a program based upon a behavior that you've seen. There is a large and profound difference between a personality trait or an IQ issue and a genetic temperament issue that runs in a breed that, that people that are within that breed see on a regular basis. The kind of behavior that I saw out of Seneca, the kind of behavior that I saw out of Eclipse, the kind of behavior that I saw out of Gina is a common genetic issue that runs in our breed. And coincidentally, they all had very similar temperaments with minute differences. The biggest similarities of them all being that they had fear, they were skittish, and they were unable to determine whether or not a person was a threat based upon their ability to monitor and assess the situation. And that is nothing even remotely close to how Velocity is. Velocity doesn't have any fear aggression. She's not skittish. She's not fearful. Velocity has a low IQ, and that is something that humans suffer from. It's something that dogs suffer from, and there are many causes of that kind of issue. With Velocity, as I've spoken about before, Velocity is the result of a recent inbreeding. So her brother and her father and her mother are half brothers and sisters. Now, you may not like that, but if you've ever owned a purebred dog in your life, then you have those kinds of breedings going on in your lines. Period. End of story. Every purebred dog has inbreeding at some point or another. And if you love your purebred dog, and you thought your purebred dog was intelligent, then you must understand that this is an issue that can be corrected by introducing genetic diversity. It is a problem of a lack of genetic diversity, and the solution to that problem is an increase in genetic diversity. There are varying degrees of it. I don't think that Velocity is, a very severe case of it. I actually don't think that people would even notice if I hadn't brought it up and if I didn't keep my dogs the way that I do. If Velocity was just a pet in my home, you would never have been able to see it. You wouldn't know that there's a problem. So, in fact, many of you, even with the way that I keep my dogs, didn't know there was a problem, which is why everybody thought that I was picking on Velocity, and why people thought that that Cashmere was picking on her, when you guys just couldn't see what we could see. And, that's just the reality of the situation. So do I think that Velocity has a temperament to where she should not be bred? Absolutely not. I think that Velocity has a great temperament. I think that she's a very stable dog unless it comes to getting overly excited around the pack, and she doesn't always know how to behave in those high stress situations. Having said that, with maturity, and with correction, she can learn. It's not like she's unable to learn. She can. So with us giving her those corrections, it's not to say that, well, why would you do this if she doesn't know how to act? Well, it's one thing not to know, but obviously you can learn, and she can learn, and she is learning. And yes, I do have to monitor the energy in my pack, but honestly, I would have to do that anyway. Even if Velocity wasn't here, I would still have to monitor the energy in my pack, because the reality is, when you have a pack of dogs, especially not spayed, not neutered, high prey drive, high dominant dogs, you do need to monitor your energy level. So the situation would be the same whether Velocity was here or not. So, for those that want to know more, want to ask questions, I appreciate that. I appreciate your willingness to ask questions, be willing to learn, and be able to admit whenever you don't know which way to go, or the answer to a particular question. For those that think that they know better, for those that watch 20 to 30 minutes of my videos that I put up a day, and you think that you know better than I do about which way to go and what the best route for my kennel is, I would ask you to question whether or not you think that you are making an intelligent, a well-educated assumption, or whether or not you may have a case of know-it-all. Because it sounds to me like you might just be a little on the arrogant side. There is no way for anyone who isn't in my home or in direct connection with me on a daily basis, like my best friend Reese, to be able to know enough about my dogs to be able to make a judgment call like that. It's just not possible. You need to know all the variables, and you don't. That's what makes an educated decision. And nobody that's actually just watching this channel is able to make an educated decision, because you don't have enough information available to you to make that kind of decision. And I would caution you from getting in your head and thinking that you know everything when you have so little information available to you, because that is a habit that will not do you well in all areas of life. Okay. No matter what you're doing in your life, If you're going to be making a judgment call or a decision, it needs to be the most well-researched and educated decision that you can. And, you know, that type of protocol that you're using when judging my dogs is not an accurate way of doing that. It's not going to provide positive or productive results. And I just would caution you from continuing that behavior going forward. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. There's nothing wrong with admitting that you don't know at all. I get it. A lot of people, they don't like Velocity getting corrected. They don't like to see that. They would like for everything to be happy and positive and sweet and nice. And when they see that it's not, they want to stop it. They want to intervene. And whether it be saying that I'm picking on her, or that I'm bullying her, or that Cashmere's bullying her, or then trying to suggest that, well, she just shouldn't be here because clearly she can't control herself. It is all based in your emotions and your inability to accept things for what they are. You know, that's all I can tell you. Velocity is a wonderful dog. If you like Preacher, then you should understand that Velocity's mother is Preacher's full sister from the exact same litter. So they have very close lines, obviously. Her brother is Preacher's half brother, or pardon me, her father is Preacher's half brother. They all have, Velocity's mother and father have the same father as Preacher does. And I like that male very much, and I like his bloodlines very much. He's a very intelligent dog. They come from dogs that are very intelligent. You know, another one of my favorite dogs at that kennel is a dog named Belina. She is Preacher's full sister. Wonderful working dog, very intelligent dog, is able to help her owners to catch hogs. And even whenever one of them got out, was able to track it through the swamp and locate it after it had been gone for a while, hold it down without hurting it, and alerted to the point that the owner was able to come and collect the hog and bring it back to the house. I mean, these are very, very good dogs, very good working lines. And that's why I was okay with the breeding that was done. Now, anytime you're going to breed closely like that, as many of us know from jokes that we make about people that live in the backwoods or whatever, inbreeding does have some downsides. And one of them is that there can be a decrease of intelligence. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. I don't think that Velocity is even suffering that severely in that area. Having said that, there is, there is some of that. And the solution to that is an outcross. And an outcross is where you breed a female or a dog to another dog that does not share any of the same ancestors, or at least not anywhere close in the lines. And that will increase the genetic diversity to the point that it will increase and kind of fill the deficit as far as the genetic material causing any issues in intelligence. So I would caution you from trying to make assumptions and judgments about what I'm doing in my job, and let me do my job. And let me be the expert, because that's what I have been learning to do my entire life. I have spent, ever since I was around 7 years old, I've spent with dogs on a daily basis. And I've been breeding dogs since I was in my early 20s. I did take a hiatus, but I still was working with dogs. And during that time, I was training dogs, had my own training company, working with purebred dogs and rescue dogs as well. So I have a lot of experience in this area, and it's insulting for people that do not have that experience to take a little snippet of my life and of my dog's life and try to make comments that that give off the impression that they think that they know better than me. I'm not open to, or pardon me, I'm not opposed to criticism, but it needs to be from somebody that actually has the knowledge and the experience to actually give a proper constructive criticism. And I haven't seen that from anyone who's making any type of judgment call against me. And I have very close breeder friends of mine, and it's just, we all know that this happens. It's very common. When you do a close breeding like this, intelligence does take a hit. It's not the end of the world. You do the outcross. It's fine. You fix it. So, please stop, acting like you think you know everything about my channel and about my dogs and about my program. It is a big problem on the internet. And to be honest with you, it undermines my job as a breeder. And if you wonder why there are so many bad breeders out there, why there is such an overpopulation problem, it's because so many people underestimate the skill it takes to be a good breeder. And they think that it's just so easy and they can just do it themselves. And that's why there are so many dogs out there, so many breeds out there that are suffering both physically and temperamentally, because there are people doing it that have no idea what they're doing. And I caution you to not add to that problem by mimicking the same behaviors that those breeders do, by thinking that you can look at a situation or look at a dog or look at a breeding program and think that you can do it better than somebody that has made it their passion and their life's work to be able to do it correctly and safely and accurately. So I think I've said my piece on that. I've tried to say it as nicely and as productively as possible without being as I guess, annoyed as I actually feel. I always try to remember those that are not Christians, whatever, it's still a good piece of advice. Forgive them, they know not what they do. I get it, that these people think that they're helping. They think that they're coming from a good place. Maybe they don't, but I'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt. But I am telling you that you need to sit back and recognize when you actually have the knowledge to make a judgment about something and when you don't. And you need much more than sitting on your computer and watching a snippet of someone's life or of a job before you go around trying to act like you know how to do it better. Because the reality is, if you could do it better, you would be doing it better. And unless you are making a comment and you've got some awesome breeding program that you want to show me, then I'm not going to take your advice, because your opinion has no value to me. It just doesn't. So I hope that you can take this as constructive criticism, that I would like you to take the time to educate yourself before trying to make a judgment call, and to sit back and learn and watch how I do this, so that you can go forward with the knowledge of how to correctly assess a dog and what is best for a breeding program and what is not. I don't believe that I've been proven wrong yet by anybody on my channel as to what the right protocol to take is. I always try to come from a very safe point of not necessarily acting like I know everything and basically being like, we'll see. Even in the case of Gina, you know what I mean? I wanted to make sure that what I was seeing was not environmental, because environmental issues can mimic temperamental issues, as far as being kept in a kennel and not being socialized. That can mimic a lot of weak temperament issues. And once I was able to assess that, yes, it absolutely is just who she is, and I know that it is a very common issue in the breed, then I was able to make the judgment call that she needed to be rehomed. So same thing with Seneca. So I would ask you to trust in me that I will always make the right decision. I I may take my time getting there because I like to make educated decisions, but this is not an area where I feel that that there's a temperament issue. Velocity has been in my program for a long time. She'll be 2 years old in February. If there was a temperament issue there, I would have already identified it and we would have already moved her on. So that's not what's going on here. Velocity has come miles in her behavior. She's a much better dog than she even was whenever I first got her, which is evidence to the fact that she's fully capable of learning and growing. So the idea that she should be rehomed because she doesn't know what she's doing and it's just torturous for her is absolute nonsense, and is based purely on emotion of a person not wanting to see a dog get a correction. So I caution you that if you do have that type of thought process, that maybe this is not the best place for you, because I do corrections, and you will see that kind of behavior on my channel, because I don't believe in hiding all the bad and only showing the good. I don't think that that's of value to the people that are watching or to the people that have this breed, or any breed for that matter. There are many people that have dogs and they're having problems and they need to know how to address these issues. And the only way that they're going to learn is with somebody that's willing to be honest and show them the reality of what it's like to have a dog like that and what it's like to deal with that kind of behavior whenever it happens. And you may not like it, but there are people that are learning, there are people that are growing, and those are the people that I am making this channel for. So if you can't learn and grow, if you can't put your emotions aside, then I would advise that you go and you find a different channel to watch that doesn't have these kinds of videos that may, may make you feel uncomfortable. So I hope you're having a good Friday, and I will talk to you later. Bye.